Hey, we're live and welcome to
Oh,
it's
we're
still
live, but we can't go live just yet, Howie. You know that.
well,
Ah,
We can't go live. We live.
Funny how, for all you've done to your bodies, it's still real to me, damn it. I mean,
now we're live.
Yeah.
Welcome to It's Still Real to Me after about 8 minutes of technical difficulty. I'm in Troy, Alabama right now. Found out Jeannie just got third cheer trumpet at the honor band in Troy. So been down here all day today. We'll actually have the concert come Saturday. But anyway,
nice.
with this man right here that makes it all possible, Mr. QB1 Randall Cunningham. Randy, how's your week been so far?
It's tough right now. This is at my, we don't talk about our personal lives all that much, but I work in the auto industry. I even got my company on tonight. The spring of the year, we change model years every September. So this from about May, I have to be set up for that change. So from January to May, they get about twice as much work out of me than they do from June to December. So it's been my life is nuts right now, but I'm getting through it. It just kind of works out for football season too. And, uh, you know, this is really the first show you and I have been on since it's happened, but we'd be remiss if we didn't say anything but congratulations to Tyler Van. So everything's great and headed that way, and I'm sure you and I will get pointed back on the Sylvania Rams football show soon.
Yeah, I hope so. So this person over here travels around more than anybody I know of. Congratulations, Mr. Jeremy Johnson. I heard you were voted as the new fan club president of the John Moxley.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That what you gather from my text. Look, so I've been on week 2 of my uh, tour of the Mid South territory. This last week, Monroe, Louisiana. This week, Alexandria,
Oh,
Louisiana. Former headquarters for Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express. I thought it was interesting. I was listening to the podcast, and he was recapping their first 2 weeks in the Mid South Territory for Bill Watts, and he was naming off towns that I had drove through. I was like, "Wow, it's kind of cool." So,
do
Yeah,
you
it's
feel do you feel ghost of Sylvester Ritter with you everywhere you go? The junkyard dog.
yeah, that's right. Hey, so by the way, let me go ahead and say this about Moxley because we may not get to it. So look, I've been under the weather after I got back last week. I was basically in the bed. I think I had the flu, and I haven't felt well. Today's the best day I've felt in probably 3 weeks. Um, so I turned on wrestling last night. I'm gonna kick back. I'm gonna go to bed early, but I'm gonna watch a little wrestling. So they got John Moxley and Jeff Hardy. And God, I used to love Jeff Hardy, but I think it's time for him to hang it up. Uh, really, to be honest with you. But I've never been a huge Moxley fan, but
No,
it ticked me off. This moron, and I'm gonna use that. This moron, you can see him calling every spot in that match because of he bends over and is doing this, and I thought you are the biggest idiot there ever was. And in addition to that, hey, camera crew, could you not like do something where you're not got the camera on him every time? Because he's obviously he's bending over, he's calling the match. He's a complete goon. He's unprofessional, he's an idiot, and I'm done with him. I am completely I'm done with that guy. I don't never want to watch him wrestle again.
hey, I like the
Jeremy. Oh, go ahead, Randy. I'm sorry.
I like the MJF line. That Moxley headlined at a pay per view where MJF was the world champion, and they had MJF on the match before in that little Tony Khan media scrum. they asked MJF, as the world champion, were you insulted that you didn't go on last? And he goes, what? You think I want to go out there and roll around in John Moxley's blood for 45 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't even, nobody bled last night, which that was great, finally. But he's complete goon. He needs to go to that. He don't even need to be on TV. He needs to be on some of these stupid indie shows that he does, because that's about how good he is.
Hey, Jeremy, can you do me a favor? Tell me how you really feel about him.
Now, I'm just telling you, that just made me mad. That you think you're that good that you just do whatever. You're not even trying to hide that you're calling the match on national TV. That guy, he needs to go be on Rampage only, or on ROH, or go away.
Hey, Randy, who's Tennessee playing tonight?
Tennessee's not playing tonight.
Oh, okay, I figure you was watching them. I see you looking at your TV. So
No, y'all know I'm boycotting WWE right now for various reasons. But I happen to have the replay of SmackDown on, and I love Paul Ellering, and it's so good to see him back. And he don't serve much of a role, but Paul Ellering standing there, just being there, that's cool to me. Hey, and Paul Ellering went and did that 1,000-mile dog race across Alaska. Anybody can do that? They got my respect. I didn't realize Paul Ellering was back in the WWE until right now. So I'm sorry I got distracted. I saw Paul Ellering walk out with Karrion Kross. Maybe the coolest pairing I've seen in a long time.
I think he came back 2 weeks ago. I
didn't know he was back. I've been boycotting, but we won't get into that.
Yeah, let's get into some other news real quick. Which y'all got my text on how I feel about the Vince McMahon stuff, so we're not going to go there.
This is a family-friendly show. We don't need to drag that crap out.
Yeah, everybody. It's kind of like I heard someone else say. I think it was Conrad yesterday. Everybody else is talking about it, so we'll let them talk about it, and we'll talk about something else.
I will say one thing about it. I am so glad that maybe when I do come back to the WWE, Hunter Hearst Helmsley will be in charge of the programming, because the only time in the last 20 years the WWE has been good is that year that Hunter and Stephanie had control of the programming. So I will shut up now.
So only thing I'm going to say on it, well, number one, Vince McMahon's a piece of trash, but that's all I'm going to say as far as that goes. But I will say this: there's probably more heads to roll. There's more people involved. There's a lot of people that maybe they didn't do anything, but they didn't talk, they didn't say and speak up when they should have. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Hey, and we got to throw in, hey, John Laurinaitis, you're a piece of trash too. Now let's move.
Yeah, that's right. TKO's gonna clean house. I'll tell you that. They won't have that.
Yep.
So let me ask y'all this real quick, and then we will move on after this question. Should Vince McMahon? You never hear about John Laurinaitis anyway, and I read something a little bit earlier where they're saying that John Laurinaitis is claiming to be a victim in this as well, which is stupid. But anyway. Should Vince McMahon be treated like Chris Benoit and be banished from the WWE?
Jeremy, you want to go or you want me to go?
Well, I'll go. Look, you could say we're unable to differentiate between somebody's professional contribution and their personal problems, right? So that's kind of the thing with Chris Benoit. You don't want to honor somebody when they've had all that. I say no. I say he's only talked about, in the past tense. I think with the ownership and it being a publicly traded company now, I think as far as WWE is concerned, I think that's where it's going to end up. There will be no mention of VKM. And I think that's really ought to be the way it is.
Randy?
Same treatment Bill Cosby gets in the American public. That's what that man deserves. Not to be heard from. And, you know, Chris Benoit, I can almost never justify, never understand.
No.
But something snapped in the man's head, and I do understand mental illness, you know, and to be mentally ill to do that. This has been going on long before this. You know, my little foray into pro wrestling in the 80s and 90s, these stories existed and was talked about by boys in the back. So this ain't new. This is decades of abuse, and his place in history should be abandoned. And all those people that did work hard to bring the WWE shouldn't be forgotten. Like The Undertaker, like Hulk Hogan, even though I can't just stand him, Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, Valentine. You know, those guys, they battled to build this company. It's unfortunate what's for him. So, Howie, to answer your question in one word, his name will never be. I will get back to watching the product because I love pro wrestling. And I do believe the product, and this is bigger than the product. I believe for the wrestling fans, the product just got much better. So, yes, I will strike him from my memory. It's when Chris Benoit did what he did. I've talked about it last week. The flying headbutt, I believe, is the worst. I believe it's one of the worst things that Chris Benoit, the Dynamite Kid, Harley Race, all those guys did permanent damage to their body that made them. Has anybody seen what Dynamite ended up being?
Yes.
He was a triple murderer, but it was horrible.
It was sad.
So concussions. Yeah, Howie. Yeah, that's a very good point. You got it.
You know, and this kind of goes without saying. I mean, well, no, it's not just. It's been going on in wrestling forever. Because we've heard these stories, Grizzly Smith and his disgusting life and all that. But let's back up a little bit, or let's just go ahead and branch out a little bit. I've been in the workforce for 30 plus years, and I've been around people where there's just this type of mentality of and mostly talk, right? That's all I've ever heard is just talk. I've not witnessed anything, but it's just like it's like it's not placing value on individuals. They're objectifying, females and objectifying, making it just about, and there's always been that kind of talk when you get around groups and stuff. And even now, I mean, I know with our company and stuff that you do everything you can do to let people know that that type of behavior, that type of talk, that type of thing at the workplace is not going to be tolerated. And encourage, and we do a great job, not just, but I know of encouraging their people. Look, if you get put in a situation where, you need to say something. You need to raise the issue, and that that's one of the things that bothers me the most is there's a lot of people that knew what was going on, and whether it be for fear of losing their job or fear of being implicated or whatever it is, they just decided they were going to bury their head in the sand. And that's what's really sad about the whole thing is that this could have been maybe headed off a long time ago.
All right, we'll move on.
3 dad girls right here, though. 3 men that are daughters. Fathers.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That you want to try you. That's all.
I'd be making a trip to Stanford if it was my daughter, and VKM.
If that was my
He,
or your daughter, we'd be making the trip together.
yeah, and he'd get more than a choke slam or a stunner.
Yeah.
Let's move on to other news. I don't know how Randy's going to react to this, but CM Punk is out of WrestleMania this year. What is y'all's thoughts on that? We'll start with you, Jeremy.
I hope he's in what's that? Cucamonga hanging out with the Young Bucks this year. That's what I hope. I am. Hey, as Super Bowl's creeping over right there, Justin Thomas, go Niners. CM Punk's not a bad guy. It's not. Let's separate what we just talked about. This. I believe CM Punk is a guy that's really hard to work with, and I've been. This is not it, but I've been waiting for the flame out. So the flame out will come. And funny enough that the Young Bucks probably has their best character going in a long time, where they're playing exactly what Jeremy says they are. Self-promoting, brown-nosing, throwing their authority around. And it's almost a spoof to me of what happened with Punk. CM Punk is good for wrestling. That's what I'll say. He's not good for Randall Cunningham wrestling, but CM Punk is good for wrestling.
Yes.
Jeremy, your thoughts on it real quick.
Well, I mean, it's disappointing because I had these great thoughts of WrestleMania and having Punk, having LA Knight, having Cody, having all these, things, and Punk's done really well. And like Randall said, like him or not, he's good for wrestling. The numbers say that. I mean, the crowd pop says that. It said it in AEW. It says it in WWE. And it's disappointing that I think that he tore that. I don't know if it's the same tricep, but that was the injury he had at his last stint in AEW. I think was a torn tricep. So you got to remember, CM Punk, he's getting on up there in his mid-40s.
Yeah, this could be the end of CM Punk, realistically.
Yeah. So I will say this. I noticed this because I haven't watched the product week in and week out. So I did watch it last Monday Night Raw, I guess, when he announced it, he was injured. I did notice this. I noticed this at the Royal Rumble as well. He had bulked up a little from his AEW. I thought he looked great. Unfortunate that he's hurt. They've got great bench strength, though. They've got a lot of things they could do for WrestleMania. So it's just, it's unfortunate for the fans. For the fans, really.
I am disappointed because there's no clear popcorn break for me or bathroom break that's slotted in the show now. Really disappointed.
We'll move on to a couple other things real quick, and then we'll get to our main topic. The other one more thing I want to talk about. Well, there's two more, but the next thing is the returns of Naomi and Andrade at the Royal Rumble. Randy, what's your thoughts on those?
Didn't move the needle for me.
I agree. Let me ask you. Well, go ahead and answer this, and I've got one more question, but go ahead.
Kind of just was like, oh, okay. Andrade's time in AEW was forgettable. Now, I'm going to get a little Jim Ross. Maximize your minutes. If you get minutes, maximize them. On Andrade had plenty of minutes in AEW, and he never maximized them. He never took advantage of that. And then, of course, he's married to Charlotte Flair, and of course Trinity Fatu. Naomi is married to the Uso. So, it felt like nepotism to me, just to be honest with you. Like, oh, here we go. Just bring back all the spouses. Renee Paquette's going to be here in a minute. Moxley's going to come out with a gig. But it's what it felt like to me. I was very much more excited to see
Now where you go.
Jordan Grace in the
Yes.
Royal Rumble than I was anybody all night. She is one of that can argue as the best in the world right now.
Yes.
Along with Ripley, along with, my girl Sasha Banks, which I still defend. She really is one that can make that statement. I thought that was the best moment of the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, your thoughts on them two returning?
No, I'm right there. I'm probably not as harsh, or I'm not, as. I thought it was great to see both of them. I think for me, it was just because I didn't expect them. Yeah, if that makes sense. I knew that Trinity had finished up in TNA, but I wasn't sure. I've never been a real huge fan of hers. I thought it was great seeing her. I think she's a good wrestler. I'm not a fan of her gimmick necessarily, but she's made it work. Andrade, I'm with Randall. I don't feel like I think he's capable of a lot more than what he has done. I think he's a great wrestler in ring. I think the fact that he's his English is not, uh, I think he's progressing, but his English has never been great. I think that hinders him as well. But I can see, hey, these two on the road together now instead of being separate. I'm with Randall. The two best moments for me, really no surprises in the men's Royal Rumble, no surprise appearances. I guess Andrade was the biggest one. Hey, wow, Andrade. But for the women's Royal Rumble that I actually enjoyed better than the men's, Jordan Grace, that was a really cool appearance. They put her over on commentary. They introduced her as the TNA Knockouts champion. Came to the ring with the belt. They put her over because she stayed in there a significant amount of time, and she looked good. So I really love that. I'm a fan of Jordan Grace's anyway, and I thought I'm gonna throw this one in here. We haven't mentioned it. I was expecting to see Jade. We saw Jade. Jade has always looked like a goddess. She's phenomenal. Her appearance, and I thought she looked good in the ring. I thought they did a good job of giving her some time and letting her shine a little bit. I don't think she's there yet, but I like the fact that they put her in there, and she actually picked up Nia Jax, and eliminated Nia, and I thought that was a good rub for her, and showcased her strength. So I really like those two moments for the Royal Rumble.
To follow up with that question there, this Royal Rumble, was it one of the most disappointing one with the shock factor of nobody really returning that moved the needle, kind of like what Randy said? Start with you, Jeremy.
No, I don't think so. For me. Now that's what everybody expects is those moments. You got the legend returns, and we've had Booker T, we've had DDP, we've had those appearances, and they're not going to be in there long. They're going to make an appearance, they're going to do what they do best, and then they're going to get thrown out. So it really wasn't to me, it wasn't disappointing. For me at all. I actually really enjoyed the both Royal Rumble matches, and so it wasn't for me.
All right, Randy.
thought they had an opportunity to make Omos into a monster that night, and they missed it a little bit. And to me, that was the one shocking return because you'd almost forgotten about Omos, and how big he is, how impressive he looks in the ring.
Yep.
I'm not sure if he's not bigger than some of the giants we build in the sport.
Yes.
But he looks, when he stands in the ring, he looks 12 foot tall, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
So I thought there was a good chance to do something with Omos there. And
I agree.
Royal Rumble, you have put Cody Rhodes, the WWF, WWE depends so much on Cody Rhodes. They had a chance to kind of move him to the side, and I thought they would in the Royal Rumble kind of move Cody away a little bit. But, I'm a big poker player, and they didn't just, bluff Cody Rhodes. They went all in on Cody Rhodes, and I don't know how this story goes unless Cody Rhodes defeats Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and that's not, I don't think, in their plans.
So, two things. Number one, I agree with you on Omos. I think he looks. That's not a build height. I think he's legit as tall as they say he is. You
might believe he's 6'9", not 7 foot. But when I see Omos, that man's 7 foot.
Yeah, he's 7'5" or whatever. Yeah. So I think they are missing something there. Maybe later. There's still time. I want to throw this in there. I'm a huge Pat McAfee fan, and have him on commentary, and have him that little deal he did where they called his number, and he is good for wrestling. I'm sorry, he's good for wrestling. He's good for sports. I don't know if you've listened to his podcast. That he has every day, and it's phenomenal. They cover wrestling, they cover football, but I thought that was great. Yeah, they missed it. They missed it. Now, as far as Cody, let me just say this about Cody. I would have loved to see somebody else win the Royal Rumble. If y'all watched Raw Monday night, and I don't know if I know Randall's boycotting, but
I am.
Seth Rollins, I thought it was a great promo that Seth did with Cody, saying, "Hey, this is your father's title, the World Heavyweight Championship, the working man's title." I love that. Seth did a great job on that. So it plants the seed, because if they're not ready to beat Roman at WrestleMania, then you don't need to put Cody in that match with Roman, because if Roman beats him again at WrestleMania, it's done.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
100%.
done. I see that they could string this out further, and Cody first capture the World Heavyweight Championship and then move on. And I don't think Cody loses anything there. But he does lose if he goes to WrestleMania and they're not ready for Roman to lose, and Roman goes over Cody again. It's done, in my opinion.
I despise the WWE hauls out the big gold belt. But the lineage of the big gold belt, if you go back to it, is to the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
Yes.
And it was correctly combined with the WCW International World Heavyweight Championships, the famous. But that belt does have a direct link to to Dusty, to all those that he always talks about. I thought the better promo, though, was, I do like Seth Rollins' promo. I thought the better promo was, "I'm more the American dream than you're the American."
Yes, that was good. When he said that, I went, "Wow, that's pretty awesome."
And then the spoof of it that I sent you guys were like, the Disney characters were doing it, made it even better. But still, yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty. I'm boycotting, but if you just go through, look, it's hard for me to live in a world where the Raw don't roll through my Facebook, or my YouTube. So I see stuff still. So that promo really, really
It was
got.
great.
And look, I am a
It
Cody.
was really good.
I hate he left AEW, but Cody Rhodes is my favorite wrestler, and it's
Yes.
hard for me to say Cody Rhodes is it. It's even hard for me to accept he's in the WWE.
So the other thing right here, you still got Damian Priest carrying around that Money in the Bank contract.
Sure, sure. And I think the other news, I don't think we hear from Brock Lesnar again. So that is over. I don't think we're going to see Brock Lesnar versus Gunter at WrestleMania. And so now you have Gunter 2 back in. You got to do something with Gunter. And
Yeah.
Gunter and Roman Reigns might be the not seen best match the WWE has that they could put out and say, seriously, how much interest would they be in Gunter versus Roman?
I'm in. I'd love it.
That's the one match you could make a WrestleMania
Yeah.
match there.
Yeah. I love Gunther anyway, and I think he's phenomenal. My chest hurts every time he chops somebody because they're boys. Those are legit.
And I'm a big believer in you kind of stack your wrestlers and put it together.
Yeah.
And I really believe it's Roman. Okay, so Roman's doing the Brock Lesnar and only showing up once a month. So Cody's carrying all these house shows.
Mhm.
He's carrying the WWE.
Right.
Roman's their guy. But that third guy, I think even more than Seth Rollins or Randy Orton right now, that the public to see is Gunter. So you got to position that guy, or he becomes he strike while the iron's hot. Either you strike with him now, or he forever stays at that level.
Well, the cool thing that they have going on with him too is that he's the longest running intercontinental champion. And so he's got that streak going on for him, just like Roman does with the Universal title. So I agree with you. Back to CM Punk thing, him being injured, it's disappointing. They're not hurting to put a great card out there for WrestleMania. They're not going to have any problem putting together a fantastic card that people are going to going to love to watch.
Folks will disagree with me, but I think AEW doesn't have a problem either. AEW has 100 deep. The WWE talent 200 deep.
Yeah.
What's really hurting, where's the next generation of talent that's in the indies? If you watch and we're going to go take an indie show in here. If you can go really, and I'm a big indie guy, and I watch the indies a lot, and you see what's supporting all these indie shows right now, it's ex WWE guys. Enzo, the real one, is one of the biggest draws. Matt Cordonia is one of the biggest draws.
Yeah.
It's not the young guys that were filling up arenas. Jay Briscoe, Seth Rollins as Tyler Black. I'm worried about where our next generation of stars are going to come from because the indies are wiped out. They're in New Japan, they're in TNA, they're in AEW, they're in WWE. If I was a young person that wanted to get in wrestling right now, is a goal to get into the indie wrestling.
Okay, guys. My thoughts on the Rumble, real quick, kind of goes back to what y'all talked about. One, Jeremy, I thought the deal with Pat McAfee was golden. It was great. That was, they always have some type of comedy spot during the Rumble, and that was it this year. And then my second thoughts are no one that I know of has even mentioned this, but how do we not know that the Rumble was supposed to actually went to CM Punk and not Cody, but they changed it on the fly because of Cody knowing he was hurt. I mean, Punk knowing he was hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. That's they could have called an audible during the match because that's supposedly when he was injured, correct? Punk
Yeah.
during the Rumble match.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we don't know that.
so we don't know.
Another name that might have gotten nixed, just because he's not ready. So there's one more monster match out there that could be made, and that's Solo Sika versus Roman Reigns.
Hmm.
That's got to happen, but I would think that would have been a 41 or a 42 match. So I heard LA Knight threw around. I heard some other people threw around, including CM Punk. But at the end of the day, CM Punk doesn't make sense to me. CM Punk, there's no, I
No.
mean, he's not enough to be there yet, you know.
CM Punk, I wasn't meaning going after Roman. I was talking about going
Right.
after Seth, you know.
Even that,
Right.
I think we're a step short in the storytelling. You know, I would
Yeah.
much rather see Cody, if it was me booking, I would much rather see Cody beat Roman and then CM Punk chase Cody for a little while and get
Yeah.
Roman 6 months or something.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking of this though right now as it stands. If the belt goes on Cody, the world heavyweight championship, I got no problem with that. I
I
think I like to see Cody with that belt. I think it fits him for right now as a step toward ultimately getting that universal title.
if the Universal title ever got on him at WrestleMania, it would probably come off at WrestleMania at SummerSlam. You know,
Yeah.
you don't need your baby face to carry that title. You really
Mm-mm.
don't. Dusty's longest run was 90 days. Kerry Von Erich carried it for 3 weeks. You know, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's title run was 2 matches with Flair. But you remember it because it was a baby face. You
Right.
really think that title carried by the Roman or even Seth. Seth switches. He's kind of that modern day heel baby face, but
Yep.
um,
Yeah. The
MJF can heel up or babyface, and that's the reason I liked him carrying that time.
Yep.
You could put MJF the same thing with Roman. You could put him. Roman don't ever play baby, but you can take a heel and put it against Roman, and that heel can be a heel against Roman. And there's enough fan support for Roman that he can play
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. I think that person to be named Never Again by Randall, I think they may have been an audible of his plan, which I think his plan was always to keep the title on Roman Reigns because for some reason he's obsessed with Roman Reigns. So
Mm-hmm.
I think Triple H is much more likely to take that title off and do a switch for a little while. This holding it 900 days means absolutely nothing to me. Nothing. I, it, I'm smart enough to realize that that's a book title. He
Yeah.
has nothing in. I like long runs, but don't make me think he's the greatest ever because he held it longer than Hulk Hogan. Because none
It,
of
it's a it's a talking point now.
yeah
It's something. It's just like the Undertaker. You didn't hear about the Undertaker streak till years in, and then it became a talking point every year. You know, so it's
I
just something to talk about.
I think Bruno legitimately held that title for like 7 or 8 years, so he's not getting there.
Mm-mm.
I read something earlier today that if Roman is during Hogan's run of the 4-year title, he defended it 470 some times. They said that Roman, between now and the time he broke that streak or broke the record of Hogan's, he would have to defend it over 400 times between now and the end of summer to break
Mm-hmm.
that, in which there's no possible way. He'd have to do
No.
it 3 times a day. So anyway, we'll move on real quick to the last topic that I had, and It's 5 billion reasons of why Raw is moving to Netflix.
Oh boy.
What I don't have Netflix that I know of, so I probably my run of Raw will probably be over with when it goes 2025. Randy, your thoughts on it, real quick.
I think the nature of the way we watch TV is about to be reinvented. I have Dish Network still, but I don't watch it. Everything I watch on Dish Network, I could get off of streaming for less money. I have a Netflix account, but I don't use. It's really my daughter's. It's her entertainment. I have an Amazon Prime account. I do not have anything else. But I did sit down at my desk the other day, and I looked at going ahead and keeping the two I got, adding a sports streaming service, and adding like the Paramount Network or something. And I think now you got to understand, college football don't mean crap to me because I'm at Tennessee every weekend, right?
Right.
I'm not watching games. That's the one caveat to this because it's going to be a mess if you're a college football fan. Pro football, you simply buy that NFL Sunday ticket on whatever streaming service you've got, and it's done. So for me, I think I made the decision to get about 3 streaming services in the Sunday ticket, and my bill's going to be $62 a month, $63 a month, plus my one-time NFL streaming service. I think it's the way of the future, boys.
Yeah.
I hate it because I'm like you, Howie. I'm not big into this streaming, but I can see all of us having less TV and more streaming. And I'm sure you got cable now or something. I really think TV's about to change.
Yeah.
And
Well, it already has. I mean, because I'm completely streaming. Everything I have is streaming now, and it has been for a year and a half, 2 years.
do you get your college?
I do, and here's why I think it's going this route. I had YouTube TV, which is live TV, and I could get all the college football I wanted to watch on that YouTube base package, which it's still pricey. It's like $72.99 a month. Yeah. So the cool thing about it is that I can click 2 buttons and I can unsubscribe to that when the college football season's over. I can pause it. I can turn it off. I actually reactivated it because I was under the weather over the weekend and I wanted to watch the AFC and the NFC championship game because I didn't even have the ability to watch CBS or NBC or CBS or Fox. And I'm like, I want to watch the football game. So I had to pay that price, but one click, and now I've got a month, and I'm gonna pause it again.
And you'll
right?
get the Super Bowl.
And I'll get to see the Super Bowl, and I'll get to watch. I can watch SmackDown. I can actually watch AEW and those things. And then so as far as I have Peacock, and so the NBC games, the NFL games, you can watch those on Peacock. And then plus you have all the WWE content, all that content there. So I think I had Netflix for a couple of months. I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of it. One click, it's done.
It's not the greatest thing in earth. It's not what everybody.
No.
I mean, if I really get Netflix, I'll watch all the movies I want to watch in a couple of weeks and be done with it.
Yeah, I barely used mine. What period of time I had it? I think I watched the doc. I really subscribed to it to watch. It was some documentary or something. So I think ease of use for people now. Everybody's got Wi-Fi in their home anyway. the ease of I can get it on my phone, I can stream it on my tablet, I can get it on my TV. I think that's really, and here's the bottom line for them switching to me. Netflix paid a lot of money for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they feel like Netflix feels like it's lucrative for them to have that. It's gonna boost their membership. So bottom line, everybody was griping about that Peacock game primarily on Peacock, streaming on Peacock. People were griping, wow, I'm not watching that and all that. Well, it set some kind of record for the number of people that streamed that NFL game on Peacock. That was the only place you could watch it.
Hey, before we jump off of this, speaking of streaming, on Amazon Prime, Daisy Jones and the Six, one of the best streaming show I've ever watched. And on Discovery, what's it's called? Because I got it up.
He's got spectacles out. What?
The Big Little Brawlers. It's the midgets from Gatlinburg and the micro wrestling. One of the best TV shows I've watched lately. How are you, buddy? So there's my two TV representatives for a while. And hey, I love the Big Little Brawler show.
Nice. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, the deal that if I read it and heard it correctly, I read it and then I also heard somebody talk about it. After 5 years, Netflix can do away with it, but it's still $2.5 billion that they'll make for 5 years.
But it can be a 5-year, a 10-year, or a 20-year deal.
Right.
If you like you better go get Netflix if you want to watch the WWE. Hey, you better go get whichever one AEW is going to land on, because everybody at AEW, when they started saying we're going to leave Turner and go to a streaming base, well, look who else left their home spot and went to a streaming base.
Yes.
So I don't think AEW is stepping out of the realm by going to a streaming base.
I think it's like you said, it's changing. It's been changing. I think it'll continue to do that. Where people just get the app, subscribe, touch a button. I've got a month of it. Decide I don't want to pay for it another month. You touch a button and you're done.
What gets me is I get access to Fox, CBS, and NBC and all that stuff on their apps by having Dish Network.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to hurt. That's the reason I hate to give up Dish Network. I watched the football games on my phone the other night, sitting in my room, not on my TV. But I mean, I had my iPad here watching football, and then my phone just playing some silly game. That's what world has become. I have a 72-inch TV. It's on less than anything in the house now.
Yeah.
I mean, high definition DLP, the old 10-year-old series TV that people are digging out to try to get them back together. And I'd rather watch a game on my little iPhone. So.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, let's move into the reason we're here tonight. After 50 minutes of other discussions, but that's what happens when you've been away for a couple of weeks.
That was the better show to do tonight. So
it's okay. We have tens and tens of people listening.
Hey, I will correct you. We have tens of hundreds listening.
I like to hear it. Yes.
So
1,000 people hit RiverCity-Media last year. Like, follow, give us a 5-star rating. January, the goal is 1 million viewers this year, 1 million hits. That is 83,000 a month. January and the summer months are the hardest months for us to do that. 89,000 in January. Hitting 1 million this year, boys.
Good deal. So
yes.
I've heard a lot of podcasts and I've heard a lot of different ones talk about this match, and that's why I brought it up. Was uh, Greg Valentine before he was the Hammer against
Hmm.
really just Roddy Piper. He wasn't really the rowdy one at that time.
I think they were both using the nicknames in Mid Atlantic, Rowdy,
Was
and
it? Okay.
it was not. It wasn't a WWE version, you know.
Right.
Right.
But the dog collar match at the first Starcade, and it was something that kind of came around before its time, really. And I mean, from the get go, for the ones that hadn't saw it, they both get their dog collar on, and they're both standing catty corner of each other, and neither one of them is touching the chain or the collar. They're just using their necks.
Hmm.
How in the world can they get away with not having some type of major neck injury with all that?
Well, Jeremy, I don't want to jump ahead of you, but that was going to be my number one point of this early part of this podcast. When you watch the first 3 minutes of it, Piper actually said in an interview that, you know, and Piper's the one that got the chain built. He
Hmm.
got logging chain, he got it attached. He did put some like wool underneath the leather straps, Howie. But he
Hmm.
was thinking, of what would you do if you were a man strapped to a dog collar to another man? What's the first thing would do? That was the birth of that match, where Piper said after they were locked in, only thing he could think of was another man would try to get an advantage by doing what he did, which is pull away. And that's a big part of this match. That if you see Dusty Rhodes in the bull rope, or you see Ivan Koloff in the Russian chain, it's always about getting control of that middle of it. It was always about Dusty getting the cowbell. It was always about Ivan using the chain as a weapon. I thought that was very intriguing that they both just did what God, a human would do if he was strapped to another human in a dog collar. Pull as far away as he could. I thought that was a
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I didn't mean to cut you off, Jeremy, but the thing
no,
about
go ahead.
the chain is it wasn't a regular dog chain. It was a
Hmm.
lumberjack chain. It was a chain that people used to
Yeah.
or still use to today to chain stuff down. So it wasn't nothing small about it.
What
No,
not get about this?
no, it was a 12. I think it was what, 12 foot. It was a legit 12 foot logging chain that they used. Um, the thing that I liked, and gosh, it's so underrated. I mean, you know how good these two were at commentary, but I watched that again, and my goodness, Bob Caudle and Bob Caudle and
Gordon
well,
Solie.
Gordon Solie. My goodness, before the match started, the way that they sold the danger of this match, they went into detail about that chain, about the collars. They talked about how all the ways that that chain could be used and the danger. They
Yeah.
painted a beautiful picture of how dangerous this match before the match started was going to be. And I thought it was. I was sitting there listening to that, and I'm thinking that in and of itself from those two was like a work of art, in my opinion. Uh, that they set the stage for it for people to understand 12 foot logging chain. I think they may have even talked about that weight and how heavy it was.
Yeah. The moves that took place during that match with wrapping the chain around the hand and hitting each other with it and falling, body slamming them on the chain and all that. You can use the F word all you want to as far as when it comes to wrestling, but guys, that crap hurts. There's no getting around it. That had to hurt. That
No,
that
you know it did.
that picture right there. There's no way of easily doing that when you see the impression of the chain when it drops off his face.
Right. Brutal match. Probably up there, wouldn't you agree? One of the most brutal matches is, if I'm not, Randall would be the one to answer this, but if I understand correctly, that's the very first ever dog collar match.
It was, there's some controversy. You got the Russian chain match, but I remember going to this in '83 with my uncle, and it was the first time.
Whoa! Hold on a second. You was at the first Starcade?
Yeah, it was on. It was on. You went to the movie theater and paid your money. And
Yeah.
so like
Closed circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My uncle was a big boxing fan, so we'd all
Nice.
go to those events, and he was like, "Hey, you want to go to this?" And I was like, "Sure." So we went, and it was actually pretty good crowd. It was in that small town that I grew up in. I think it was about $7, and we went in there and
Wow.
we watched on a closed circuit, and it was not the greatest quality ever. But yeah, first arcade. So,
Kind of go back to Jeremy's point of Solie and Caudle talking about it. If I'm not mistaken, they never called it a dog collar match. They called it a dog chain match.
I don't remember.
Oh, I don't. You know what? I'd have to go back again, Howie, because that wasn't just what stuck out. I was really just getting into how they were describing everything. So you may be right on that.
I think they was calling it a dog chain match and not a dog collar match.
But before we leave
Well,
this, I want to talk real quick about something y'all brought up. Gordon Solie, everybody I know I love, but Bob Caudle is the most underrated wrestling announcer in history, and it's such a distinctive voice, and it's such
yes.
livery, and he didn't have the vocabulary of a Jim Ross or a Gordon Solie or even a Jesse Ventura. But I think for the Southern audience, which this was built for, kind of him having that North Carolina accent and everything being, kind of a uh-oh and talking a little bit like your Uncle Henry down the road.
Yeah.
I really thought that was important to this match.
Yeah. And again, I just thought it was a work of art on how he described all the ways. He and Gordon both were play by play. That's the other thing. Both of those were primary play by play announcers, and you put them two together for this, and I thought they worked well together. But I agree with you. I think Bob Caudle is severely underrated. It's just a joy to listen to.
So hold on a second. Did either one of y'all have him on y'all's list as announcers?
No,
I have to go back. I think I had him.
I didn't. When I say underrated, it included me. But then again,
Way to get out of that, Randall.
then again,
I like it. I included myself in that.
when you're talking top 10, that's not just any list to break.
No.
Bob Caudle was in my honorable mentions, but we all know my honorable mentions go for 5 feet. So
They were 100 deep. Now, but he's a.
I'm sorry, Jeremy. Randy, can you bring up that picture that was where it went across the eyes of Roddy?
yeah, Matt Pruitt, one of my coworkers, I 100% agree. Let's put Jesse Ventura in the WWE Hall of Fame, Pete Rose in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I agree.
Appreciate you tuning in tonight, Matt.
I agree.
Don't even get me started on the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I know. God, makes me mad.
That one right there. You can use the F word with wrestling all you want to. You cannot tell me that right there does not hurt.
Yeah.
I mean that is just seeing that it's painful with that going across your eyes, the bridge of your nose. I would say, for a fact that once that chain was dropped down, Piper's eyes was watering so much because
Mm-hmm.
you know how it is with something being across your nose.
Yes. So, with speaking of hurt, the thing I really enjoyed about this match, and I'd watched it, but I watched it again, to kind of freshen up a little bit. But the thing I really enjoyed about this match, you know, Valentine had injured Piper's ear earlier because this is the kind of the culmination of a feud. He continued to go at that ear, legitimately busting his eardrum earlier, but he continued to go after that ear. That ear's bleeding, and Bob and Gordon both emphasizing the damage that's doing to Piper. He loss of hearing. Piper staggering around. He lost equilibrium because of that. I thought that was fantastic. That the Valentine, that was his primary focus that entire match. Even though he had his chain wrapped around his eyes, he really always came back to that ear as a weak spot for Roddy. I loved it. I, I, I mean, that was a legit injury too, by the way. But
Correct, guys. Because my memory, I did not. What I watched was a Spanish version that was on YouTube. I don't have that.
I watched a little bit of that as well. Yes.
So you didn't hear Bob Caudle?
I listened to Bob Caudle. I watched it the second time on the network and finally found it. But the first time I watched it, it was probably on that same Spanish announcement.
Yeah.
You know about
that's not Bob Caudle.
Was this not for the United States Heavyweight Championship?
It was.
And
it really was.
United States Heavyweight Championship that's ever existed. It's the one made like the U.S. title.
Yep.
The US. And yeah, because they had done a real good job. Now, understand that Piper beat Flair for this, and then Valentine to beat Piper. So this was a big revenge. But for us, this was the end. For me, it was the end. I didn't know anything happened after this. But do you know Valentine said they repeated this match 20 times?
Yeah.
In the territory?
Yeah.
And him and Roddy in the locker room, their talk afterwards is, how are we going to do this? Because both of them, had no problem with saying this was brutal. This is what any cage match, any match that ever been through. And they went and repeated it in the territory.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I thought it was the end was somewhat disappointing for me because I expected Roddy to win the U.S. title back. But according to the Valentine, what I watched on his podcast, he did give the title back to Roddy at one of those house shows, and Valentine then split for New York. Well, in my head, all these years, this was Roddy's last match, and he went to New York. Well, evidently, there was a little bit of a lapse there from what Valentine said, is that he gave the title back to Piper, and Valentine took off to New York. So,
yeah,
I always just assumed Roddy went straight from this match to Vince McMahon, but he made it sound like it was a little different than that.
Yeah.
And that's why he didn't win. That was in my heart all these years.
Well, now I just watched the Starcade match, and he won. Piper won.
The dog collar match.
The Starcade '83. Yes, he actually won that match.
Then that because he did.
It was that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he got the title. Hammer or Greg that goes to Vince. It goes to North. Right. So
changed. Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to put this timeline together because as soon as Roddy drops the title, he goes to Vince.
He goes, which is what wasn't far behind.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So the thing I liked about it as what I'm with you. The ending was a little anticlimactic as far as the ending of this match. It was like just a little bit of physicality and then just like almost like a roll up, but it was a cover and a pin. But I don't know if y'all paid attention to this because I mean we watch AEW, we watch the WWE, and people are jumping around, and they're flying from one thing to the next. The pace of this match to me was perfect. The pace of it, yeah. They, I just thought the pacing for me it matched the physicality of the match, and it just made sense to me. Because if I was fighting like this how I'm gonna fight, you know. And I thought the pace was great in this match as well. I thought it was just it was perfect.
Okay, so I was jumped over. They had stopped the match for the U.S. I got my finishes messed up. The way Valentine originally won the U.S. title was by the stoppage due to the ear injury,
Due to the
and that's
ear.
prior to this match. So I'm square now. I'd watched both of
That's
them,
right.
and I guess I got them backwards. So stoppage to win the U.S. title. Piper takes it back at Starrcade. Then they go on 20 on the tour, and then yeah, makes sense now.
Yeah.
The two things that sticks out to me about this match is one, some you never see today. They both came out with blue trunks on.
I made a note, Howie, of the same thing. They're boots different color, tights same color.
Absolutely, same color knee pads, if I ain't mistaken. Both
Yeah, which
blue pads and blue trunks.
Yeah,
And,
there you go.
yeah, and then
I didn't wear knee pads.
yeah,
No.
great wear them. So then the second thing that stuck out to me was as much as they were in and out of the ring, they never got tangled up in that chain.
yes, I thought they handled that really well because I let I just thought the ways they used the chain, when they would loop it over and they would loop it short and use it kind of like a whip, which Caudle and they both mentioned that, Solie both mentioned that using it like a whip or whatever. But my favorite thing was when Roddy got Greg in the corner and he looped the chain around the ring post and then he would pull it like a almost like a winch and
Yeah,
pull Greg back in the corner like that. He was supplying the press. They're just little things they did with that chain that made it, you know, it made it cool.
You
absolutely.
know, something just hit me, and this will be one of my last comments for the night. I always hated the WCW for not putting a world title on Roddy when he was there with Hogan and he beat Hogan at Stargate. But
Yeah,
Famous didn't put the world title on him. He beat Hogan in a non-title match, but he won the United States Heavyweight Championship like a week later. Was that a homage to the dog collar match that the WCW put the U.S. title back on Roddy Piper and kind of let him go out as the U.S. champion on his last
mm,
run? And I never had thought of that, but it kind of makes sense now. Hey, I wrote in my notes here uh, of the five men that I would say are the greatest people to never hold the World Heavyweight Championship. Both of these guys made the list. Roddy at 1, Valentine at 5. So um, these guys didn't need a
yeah.
world title, did they?
No, I don't think Roddy ever needed a title. Period. Uh, uh, to me, he didn't need it. He didn't need it. So one thing I just want, I made some notes. I've got one last thing that I thought was kind of cool. If y'all don't mind me sharing that.
All right, go ahead.
Again, this goes back to the commentary. Again, that was this was maybe I'm being a little over dramatic this evening. I don't know. I think this match was a work of art from the performers to the commentary. I think this was one of the best matches that you could ever watch, to be
If
honest with you.
if I remember correctly, Jeremy, this was third to the end.
Yes.
Pretty sure the World Tag Team Championship was being between Harley and Flair in the dog collar match.
I think you're right. But the thing that the just little things that they did, the at one
Oh, we lost Jeremy.
We lost you, Jeremy.
me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I went out right there. So at one point, Valentine had the sleeper on, and Roddy's not going out.
Finish.
Huh?
I thought that was going to be the finish.
Now, well, but I thought it was cool because Gordon Solie goes in and he talks about the fact that because of that collar and because of the sweat and the blood that he goes into detail about Greg Valentine's forearm and he's not getting the pressure that he normally would. And I thought stuff like that, you don't hear that now. I mean, you do, but he was just this. I just loved hearing that. It just kind of warmed me, warmed my heart, if you will. Just those little things that they did in this match, from that commentary standpoint and from Roddy and Greg Valentine, both. Uh, I don't know. I just fell in love with it again, man. To be honest with you, when I watched it, I'll probably watch it again after we get off here. Uh, I just thought it was great.
Hey, Starcade 1 is one of my favorite nights. They made Mid Atlantic Championship. They could build a feud, and you don't undersell that tag team feud either. Steamboat and Youngblood getting the belts back that night it was louder in the movie theater for Steamboat and Youngblood's win than it was for Flair and Harley.
Yeah.
That's how popular they were. But you think about it, you've got Steamboat, Piper, Flair, Harley. You got versus what goes on with WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 1. So you can see me as a kid why I was probably 15, 16.
Yeah.
I prefer Mid-Atlantic over Mr. T or Paul Orndorff or, all that crap that was going on. This, to me, was so.
No, I
So
completely agree.
let me ask you, Randy, since y'all saw it in a movie theater, how many people was in there roughly? Do you remember?
About 100, I would say. The movie theater probably set 200. It was very similar size to that movie theater that's in. I don't know if that's still there, but the one that was in Fort Payne when I was there in the 90s, it was that size, and I would say it was half full.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't in the town I grew up with. It was actually in the Chattanooga area, but it was, where I grew up was very close to the Chattanooga area. So that's where we'd go mainly to see movies. I remember we thought it was outrageous that it was $7.99.
That's right.
But you got to remember, we were paying $2.50 for ringside tickets at the Memorial Auditorium because my uncle, shout out Uncle Leon, he's the one that took me to every football game, every wrestling show that I ever got to go to when I was a kid. And we would come down and sit in Memorial Auditorium, shout out Pat Rose. And we could sit, I think it was the first 3 rows for $4 and then row 3 through 6 for $2.50. And I always wanted to sit in row 3 through 5 because I didn't want Ox Baker to get me.
Oh, it's scary.
I always was scared that if we were there where he could grab me over the rail, Ox would get me that night. So, $7.99, boys.
Nice.
Maybe it was $9.99, but I remember I took $20 and I ate, had popcorn, Coke, and I still brought back about a $5 bill. So
So was that like the
Ooh.
first time you ever saw anything in color TV?
No. That, believe it or not, that's not the first time. I've been to two other closed circuit events, which was Ollie Foreman,
Hmm.
and then we went to my uncle took me to the Battle of the Worlds where Chuck Webner fought Muhammad Ali, and
Oh,
Chuck Webner fought Andre the Giant, and Ali fought Antonio Inoki. That card, we had went and saw that too. So
wow.
it was not rare. It wouldn't be like every movie theater to have this. There'd be like one in the Chattanooga area and maybe two in Knoxville. And you'd pull up. Yeah, this is what I remember: is you'd pull up. Have you ever seen one of those old satellite trucks that the TV stations would come to do a live remote from like a football game with the big? They'd crank up a
Yeah.
satellite dish about 10 foot high off the back of the truck, and that's what they'd have out there in front of the movie theater, and they'd feed the feed through that big truck, and it was like you would just be like, you can imagine what it was like. But yeah, there would be a big, like I believe it was News Channel 12 truck that was feeding the feed that night. So
I'm surprised that they had vehicles back then.
I thought you got to the event in the horse and buggy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Randy.
well, I hate to tell y'all that this is the last. It's still real to me on RiverCity-Media. I'm gonna find some. I'm gonna replace how. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, as old as I am, I wouldn't doubt a horse and buggy is somewhere in the past. So
Yeah. Hey, I ain't far behind you, man. So
Hey guys, guess what?
beards.
Guess
So
what, guys? We are going to fantasy book come this next week.
oh wow,
yeah.
And when I say that, I want the top three. Yeah, get your notebook and pencil out, Jeremy. Get ready to write it down. Uh, I want the top three fantasy matches of anybody, any generation, any federation, whatever.
like at
Ooh.
WrestleMania 5 where they had the chance to put Flair and Hogan together and they passed on it, or is this
Hmm.
like any generation versus any generation?
Any generation versus any generation.
So if we roll out
Hmm.
a three-way match between Bruno, Vern Gagne, and Harley Race, we're good.
You are good. It's
I
any
like it. It's
and
gonna be fun.
not only are you going to book it, you got to give us a finish as well.
Oh.
Top three now, because how can I say this politely? Y'all get a little winded and get excited every while, so we can't go 10 because
Woo.
yeah, too many energy drinks between y'all. So if we go 10, we'll be here for 2 days. So
And it's not woo energy. It's monster.
top three
Hey,
matches.
I thought y'all would buy the Kamala.
There you go.
I got you.
So the top three matches, any generation, anybody against anybody. It could be
Hmm.
Bruno Martino against MJF.
Wow.
It could, if you want it to be a a, a verbal type thing where it's going to be MJF squaring off against Ric Flair in a kind of like a little woo off type deal, but having a match. Whatever you want it to be. But three matches. And it can be a
Hmm.
three-way match if you want it to be. It could be even if you want to do a tag team match, that'll be fine.
Ah.
How about a 60-man two-ring battle royal?
Ah. That might get half of Randall's wrestlers in there, 60 men.
So
Hey, I know one of mine right now, and I guarantee you, y'all could probably name one of the wrestlers in it.
So what that's going to be? I'm saying for
Hmm.
next week, but there's a lot of stuff going on between all three of us. So hopefully it can be next week sometime.
Yeah, folks, we're trying to get a little more regular. JJ has got more work responsibilities than the other two, so we promise to try every week to get you a show on here, but at worst we've been averaging one every other week. But you can always go back and watch the replays because there's probably 100 hours of It's Still Real to Me out there. So
We there's a possibility of another person, RiverCity-Media. Me and Phil Harris may be doing some more basketball games next week as well. So I'm not sure what day that would be on, but it could be on a Thursday. But anyway, as soon as possible. Yeah, spring training is coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, man. Hey, real quick, Super Bowl predictions.
Listen, I've got this down to a science. Now listen to me, everybody, make some money. Over 6.5 Taylor Swift spottings.
Oh, is that what we're betting on? Oh, okay. So, hey, so let me just say this: the Kansas City Chiefs are the new heels of the NFL.
Let me add.
They're heels. They're legit heels, and
He's a
they're loving it.
heel.
And they're loving it.
My
He's a heel.
and I'm guilty of it every year. I forget how good Kansas City Chiefs are when it comes to playoffs.
Yeah, they are. They flip a switch. They
But
flip a switch.
I'd like to see 22 win the Super Bowl on the Niners. Justin was on here.
Yeah.
Justin's the world's biggest Niners fan. I'm okay with the Niners, but Christian McCaffrey. I love to see people that are great
Yeah.
at possession. I'd love
Yeah.
to see McCaffrey get a Super Bowl. So
I would as well, and I'm going to throw that second year quarterback Brock Purdy in there. The kid, I love him. He's a baby face, man. I don't know why people are hating on him, saying he's not a good quarterback. If you're a starting quarterback in a Super Bowl, you are pretty good. I don't care what the idiot that sits on his couch and watch ESPN NFL Live says. You're a good quarterback.
So let me ask y'all real quick, since we swapped over to football, could Brock Purdy end up being the next Tom Brady as far as being drafted so late but having such a successful career?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I don't think anybody's gonna match Brady. I don't
I'm
ever.
not talking about Super Bowl wins. I mean that record.
Yeah.
But as far as who would have thought that Tom Brady, being a sixth-round pick, would end up doing what he's doing, and who would have thought that Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, would end up making, well, he
Right.
made two conference championships in his first Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah. I think so. Yes. As of right now, yes, he's well on his way. If they could pull off the victory. Now I didn't want the Niners to win. I actually wanted the Lions to win because my team got put out the first round, so I had to adopt teams every round because every team I adopted got beat. But
At least your team wasn't put out after 6 games like mine was.
hey, but look on the bright side. You got a new coach.
Morris. Raheem
Yeah.
Morris.
Yeah.
Howie, I could see the excitement on his face.
All right, guys. I've got to head back over to the college and pick her up pretty quick. So, closing comments, Jeremy.
Well, I'm looking forward to booking my 3 matches. Each one will going to be a 10-man battle royal. So that way I can at least get 30 men in there. So we'll see how that goes.
Hey, I will predict Randall will at least have 1 more games in his 3.
Oh my goodness! Well,
Can it be a scaffold match?
Yeah, go ahead. So,
And I'm booking managers too. You better not think I'm gonna book my 3 favorite matches of all time, and Jim Cornette's not going to be somewhere on this card.
he's a heel.
All right, everybody, for Howie Chaney.
What are you doing closing the show?
Cool choke slam tombstone.
What are you doing closing the show? This is my show.
Howie, take us out.
I'm just giving you a hard time, man.
Take us out, Howie. I'm just trying to gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay. For Jeremy that's pointing something on the shirt, I have no idea what it is.
Last ride.
For Randy Cunningham, I'm the Howie Chaney. Join us next week when you might hear Jeremy say, I really do love John Moxley. Good night and God bless.
And you might hear Randall say, I'm going to pee my pants. I got to go.